Yes, I am in Kamloops. I go back to Merritt tonight.
We'll just let Mr. or Councillor Etchart get set up. All right, where's my spectacles? No, she's not coming tonight. She's got. And welcome everyone. Committee of the Whole, Wednesday, July 26, 2023. Council chambers. We would like to begin this meeting by acknowledging that we are all gathered on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Inca, Kappa, and Silk people. Tonight, Councillor Egan has a family issue, so she won't be in tonight. We are joined by Councillor Olgan in Kamloops. And adoption minutes 2.1, Committee of the Whole meeting, May 2nd, 2023. Recommendation that the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting held on May 2nd be adopted. Councillor Charney, Councillor Petrosi, any errors or omissions? Everybody good? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Delegations and recognitions. I don't think we have any of that. Unfinished business. New business. 5.1 Economic Development Strategy. Ms. Christensen to introduce the strategy to Council and provide opportunity and feedback. It is up to you. Merritt?
Thank you, Your Worship. And councillors, great to be here tonight. Thank you very much. I've also invited for support Director Lacey Williams from Planning and Development and Kim Mullen from Communications, because there'll be perhaps some questions as we go along from our Mayor and Council about economic development, and it all kind of melds in together. So yeah, so looking forward to it. Been here almost a year with economic development here in the city of Merritt. So thank you very much. It's great. It's a great city and lots of opportunities, and looking forward to going into the future with this. So of course, land acknowledgement was already said. So thank you very much. Economic development, the staff we're within the development and the planning department, and we work, of course, collaborating with key stakeholders internally and externally. And so the city sets the regulatory framework for economic development through the strategy, which we're going to talk about tonight, the official community plan, the zoning bylaws, business licensing, sign permits, tax rates, and other bylaws. And also the city also plays a lead role in business attraction and retention. So at any time, if you have any questions, just ask. And this is just a lot of slides that I've taken from the Economic Development Strategy Plan. So there's also an advisory committee, which I'm sure you're all aware of, and they advise the Merritt City Council on matters pertaining to economic development, city center revitalization, investment and business attraction, long-term economic sustainability. And so, of course, those committee members are selected by City Council through an application and review process, which I think is happening in the next year or so here, a few months. I don't know the exact date, so that's Mayor and Council. And our collaboration. So since I've been here, I've had the opportunity to work with so many different organizations in our community, from the Chamber of Commerce to Community Futures, Tourism Nicola Valley Arts Council, Canadian Country Music Hall of Honor, CNA, other Indigenous organizations, Work BC, just working with the owners, our businesses, our staff, employers, just to get a whole sense of what's happening in our community and what we can do to make it better. And if without the strength of all of these organizations, we don't have an economy. So it all kind of, what I've noticed is since I've been here for a year, is that everything is like the threads of a fabric. It takes everybody to make things happen. And of course, we work with our educational institutions, Nicola Valley Institute of Technology, the School District 58, identifying training and education needs and opportunities that translate, of course, into our future local job opportunities. And April 13th, we had that career and employment fair that was at NVIT. We had over 500 students, 55 vendors. It was a great success, for example. And the SWOT. So this is getting into the economic development strategy itself. So this was all put in place before I got here. And so it's just to give you a broader, more economic context from regional to the global view. And it's an environmental scan, and it examines like our economic, our social, technological, environmental and political regulatory influences on our economy. So this SWOT, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So again, this was a collaborative, and Adam, you were in part of all of this as well, right? So I mean, it was a big undertaking, and Stephanie Moore and her team had put like a lot of hours to put this all together. So this has all been done, so it's almost like I'm in the position of helping implement it into our community. So our strengths, of course, is our location, as we have in a lot of our development meetings, and anytime we're talking to somebody, it's location, location, location. Anybody in real estate knows that, and we're the hub. We have a supportive community. For now, we're relatively affordable, and we have so many natural assets, so many. Our opportunities, we're a mixed-use development and co-work space. We have that, industry expansion and diversification, and communication. Our weaknesses, our perception, image, we have empty lots, lots of storefronts, aging infrastructure, our housing. Our threats are consumer and employee leakage, climate change, and of course, natural disasters, which we all know, estate pressure and affordability, and of course, post-COVID impacts on all of our businesses. So the purpose of the economic strategy, obviously, is to make sure that we have an economic landscape for Merritt. It has changed significantly, and some of these action items weren't initiated and became relevant due to the changing landscape, while other action items were completed. So as you go through, you'll see, and it's like, oh, that's already been addressed. This needs to be worked on. So the plan, economic challenges, opportunities, like we were just talking about it, this well-drafted plan is a guiding document that clearly communicates the strategies and actions that will move the community toward achieving its economic development vision. So, having said that, this is a 10-year strategy, and it should be updated every 5 years. So 2022 of last year to 2031. So the inevitable is, this is such a well laid out economic development strategy plan that it has 43 strategies in it and 211 action items. So when I came into the position, I went, that's a lot. I think we'll be working around the clock to get all this done. I mean, there's such great ideas and there's such great strategies that it just really is so impressive to see that. And if we go to the next slide, Greg, thanks. These are the 5 key priorities. So number 1 is, this is where it'll all make sense. So promote a vibrant city. The second one is economic diversification and growth. The third one is business attraction and retention. Fourth, increase housing supply in city center and urban villages. And fifth, commercialize the Merritt Airport area. These are the 5 that are guiding that entire strategy. So within each one of those priorities, there's all those strategies and all those key principles. So I'm just going to do a high level. I don't know if some of you have had an opportunity to read it in your spare time, because I'm just giving you a high level. So there's lots of layers to this, but I just want to make sure that it just give you a whole kind of round understanding of what the strategy is all about. So the first one, to promote a vibrant city. It's, if we have that city center, that major stimulator for economic growth, it attracts other economic strengths. And the community also has that opportunity to showcase our culture and character. Many of the factors contribute to the creation of a vibrant and attractive city center. They include beautification, programming and events, walkability, functionality of space, as well as a mix of businesses, mixed-use developments that invite people to enhance their lives through work and recreational activities. So a lot of that is happening, and it does happen. And like we had the conversation today, that there's so many different things that are happening in our community on any given day or weekend. Do you have a question, Adam? Or sorry.
Just speaking to this, like even having the Wednesday night markets and having the music in the park, it's just getting people involved in being downtown. And I think that was a vision that last council had. And I think just having had the flood is really just shadowing everything. And I know everybody having to get these building permits for repairing their houses has really put a strain on what was the plan and what we worked hard for. But I know that even with the OCP amendment in 2020, so that we could have suites approved or allow that in certain zones, was really kind of moving towards that. So it's nice to hear you talk about it, because there was a lot of thought and effort that went into it. So thanks for the sharing it with everybody.
Yeah.
It's just great to hear, and thanks, Merritt.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's great. Thank you, Adam, for that. I appreciate it, because it also, we have a community that there's so many people that are out there that are doing so many different things, right? Like the collaboration of all, you see a lot of same players at the same meetings constantly, and which is fantastic, because this person knows that this person's doing this, and it's like, oh, we have a night market tonight at 6 o'clock. Kim's like, I'll be all right, I'll be over. I'm just going to drop my daughter off there before I come here, right? So, I mean, everybody's taking part in one way, shape, or form. And the second strategy is economic diversification and growth. So the diversification of a local economy mitigates the risk of fluctuation in any one industry sector. And as we know, like you had pointed to, there's so many things going on and so many things that affect one business. If we lose one business, it's like it affects so many people and so many families. So it's like we try our best to keep what we can and attract more businesses that it's going to be, great for our community. And the focus is to encourage the diversification within the traditionally strong local industry sectors such as agriculture, forestry, and retail, while encouraging growth within industry sectors that Merritt is well positioned to support. And we've had these conversations with various developers that are interested in purchasing land here, or they have purchased land, and it's wonderful that we can have those conversations with them, and they say, well, what kind of business? What does Merritt want? What would benefit our community? And it's wonderful to have people at the table to talk about that, because then it's like, oh, okay. And then they suggest things, and it's like, element agriculture, biofertilizer coming into Merritt, revamping the old pellet mill, and, we'll eventually have jobs for that. And so it's one step at a time, but it's that diversification and growth, and we're open to that. That's going to benefit our community. And business attraction and retention. Those are key to strong local economic growth. So our attraction initiatives focus on promoting Merritt's business-friendly environment, competitive advantages, opportunities to attract the target industry sectors that are outlined in the strategy. And there's a whole list with this particular strategy, and which is fantastic, because it takes a community to make this happen. And people want to know that there's things happening in Merritt, and that people aren't leaving to go somewhere else to do business. especially when we get into the, people that are here. It's like, I've heard, well, those are box stores. I said, and my comment to them is like, yeah, well, those box stores, they actually, we have people from Merritt that work there, and it provides food for them, and it provides a wage for them. And it's like, oh yeah, I never thought of that. Right. So it kind of like trying to shift that thought pattern of, yeah, everybody has a reason for being here, and everybody's, advantageous to our community in one way, shape, or form. Then the fourth one, is increased residential housing supply in the city center and urban villages. So of course the housing needs report that was done before my time in 2021 identified a lack of diversity of housing options and a significant lack of rental units. I think the new people as well, from your staff can actually attest to that. It's like, oh yikes, where do I find a place for less than this amount of money? And luckily there's people in town that were able to assist and help out, but experiencing that firsthand gives you a really good idea. And it's like, oh, so anybody that's looking for housing, it's like we do everything and anything we can to keep them here. And it's like, well, did you know of the Merritt Wire? Did you know of this, these different social feeds that we have that you possibly, our town, what they do is, we have this suite available, which is fantastic, because when there's newcomers coming into town, they don't necessarily know that. So a lot of times that's just conversations, but we really do need housing. And November 2021, Coldwater River flood exacerbated the need for additional housing, encouraging residential housing development within the city center and urban villages as identified in our OCP to address this need and support the workforce housing needs for businesses in our shopping districts. Because if we don't have housing, we don't have people coming to live here. And fifth, certainly not least, our commercialization of our Merritt Airport area. Improvements to the Merritt Airport will facilitate commercial development opportunities on the lands adjacent to the airport, as well as support future opportunities for economic diversification in the tourism industry. It's important to note that the airport classification will remain AGNI 2, non-instrument approach, which will impact the potential commercial activities. We've had the commercial or our airport day in July, raising awareness, attended from all reports, which is fantastic. And always, there's always things happening, and our May Day drag races, raise awareness again. So it's really neat to see the collaboration of the different organizations and people that make things happen, and it's all building the seeds to make it even bigger and better. And our different grants that help out with this, and we can make a difference by making it better and making it more attractive. And that goes for everything that we do. So every project has an economic impact in our city. So our team, of course, is me for now. As we go further and get into it, they'll talk about the funding allocation and deliverables. Of course, when I first got here, and still managing the various past and present grants. So when I came in, it was like, oh my goodness, we have this grant money, but it hasn't been completed, but we need you to spend this, so we need to do this, and the ETSI-BC grant, and it's like, okay, what do you need? And it's like, you have to spend it or you're going to lose it. So that spurred on the two contractors that were hired, and they worked on the World Council data and collecting all of that information, and also collecting the going out to our community and talking to business owners face to face and saying, what do you like? What's great about Merritt? What can we change? And a lot of it is the same as what we've heard. Like, I've gone back in reports from 2012 and going, people are saying the same thing, right? Like, it just seems to be a repetitive we need this, we need a bakery, we need a shoe store, we need, and that's fantastic because then we have those ideas that we can put into play when we have the funding to do this and help out our different organizations and businesses in town. Of course, work with Rural Dividend Development Fund, of course, the Ministry of Forest and Lands, help out with the Visitor Services Network Program, which is the funding that Mayor and Council had approved for the Bailey House Visitor Center. We work with the Trans Mountain Funding, TMX with NVIT. There's opportunity there. So basically doing, being a conduit sometimes with these, the funds and the grants. And so it's like the administrating that sometimes can be kind of complex. So you've got to kind of be right on top of that a lot too. So the current projects, of course, support for planned business investment and traction initiatives to promote our community and enhance community image. We're working on projects. We work closely with Nicola Valley Arts Council, where they're beautifying our city with different, as you've seen, as you come into town, with the big salmon fish there in the, I need the name of the park. Lions Park, yeah, thanks. Yeah, right. And also Rotary Bandshell, that's going to have Nicola Valley in there when Joel starts that. So work with the Department of Recreation, and Sky and I work with Nicola Valley Arts Council very closely on these projects, and so they're painting all throughout the town. And, which is fantastic because it just brightens it up and it adds vibrancy to our community. Always, again, continuous collaboration with various community organizations to enhance the social and economic threads. A lot of times when I'm sitting at some of those meetings, there's opportunity for different collaboration. Oh, by the way, did you know that on September 23rd, the Chamber of Commerce is looking at bringing in a big event, and it's like, okay, if you're bringing that big event in, do you know that the Canadian Country Music Hall of Honor is also having an event that day? And we also have our farmers market that day, so we can do collaborations. And so a lot of these collaborations intertwined with one another, and it's fantastic. And it's like, oh, well, we can help them out. Or, for example, the Canadian Country Music Hall of Honor, they need more members. So then the Fiddlers Association says, well, then we'll come and join you and become members, and we'll work on bringing, some more music and arts to our community. So that in itself is really, I'm pleased to see that because those things are happening in our community. Collaborate with business walkabouts with Work BC. So we do that on a monthly basis. We walk around to all as many businesses as we can in a 2 or 3 hour span, and we talk to our businesses and offer Work BC, of course, as well. We can help your employees if they need training, et cetera. Do you need staff? We can advertise, et cetera, et cetera. I come from a city perspective. Hi, from the city. Can we help you out? Is there anything that, is pressing? Here's my contact information. And just by being the face, it makes a difference that when you're approachable, people can come and talk to you about different things. You find out all sorts of things, it's like, and then you bring it back, and whether it's internally or externally, and then try to navigate it and get answers. The Visitor Services Network contract, the Bailey House, as I'd mentioned, investment ready community profile package, working on that, land inventory database, which is ever changing, and ongoing management of various grants and deliverables. And of course, we had the Element Agriculture I'd mentioned. We had the tour there. Barkman Industries connection, kind of a cool story there. I just happened to walk into Barkman Industries. Hi, I'm Marilyn from the city. And he says, I've been waiting, Jeff had said, well, I've been waiting for somebody, from the city. And now we're in a position that we can become part of the community. So now they're on the board of the Chamber of Commerce, and now, and there's more people that are becoming, so that's being revived, which is fantastic. Education and youth collaboration, the CNA, Community Futures, Indigenous Skills and Employment Training Program, MVIT, School District 58, and Work BC. All of us collaborated together to make that education and career fair happen. So that was really neat to see that collaboration happen. And of course, the festival liaison, and I've seen it in the ActDev strategy that there is, and I'm open to suggestions as well. But I've seen that there was a festival organization they wanted, like it says, we need to have a festival society, and I'm like, okay, let me see what this looks like. So in the past year, I can tell you that from just what I've experienced, that there are so many organizations in our town, and they are already maxed to their volunteer hours, that it's very difficult for them to even think about another organization to be part of. So, but I'm finding that the collaboration, if there's a conduit, such as myself, that's at these different organizations and meetings, oh, what about this or what about that? You need to talk to this person. That seems to perpetuate, and then you just start it, and then they just run with it. So it's really good to see those collaborations happening. And it's like, okay, there it is. And a lot of times that it's, who do I talk to? I want to rent out the Nicola Valley rodeo grounds. Well, that would be, Gert or Peter, or, like, and you have those people who are in those particular positions, because sometimes they change, as we know, with nonprofit organizations and community events. There's been so many different projects that have come out of all of these, and I can't believe, like, every weekend there's something going on in our community, and if somebody says that they're bored in Merritt, I just like to talk to them. Next. Of course, I mentioned the business blocks. Of course, we have our business-to-business chamber events, which I know some of you have already attended, and they're becoming quite successful, and people are looking forward to those business-to-business events. I'm working closely with the Chamber of Commerce. Some of our projects in progress. There's a new one, the Business Facade Improvement Program. So we're just kind of in the talking about this. It's I'm just talking to the ministry right now before I present to Mayor and Council about this program, just to see if there's an opportunity that we could reallocate the funding, but whatever our Mayor and Council wishes to do with different funding, because ultimately it's just what direction from you. I'm more than happy to implement it. We have got so many things that we can do. The downtown washroom project, that's in progress. We've been having conversations internally and looking at for funding for support for that project. So I look forward to that being completed or even getting momentum. And priorities, and of course this official the official community plan, if you keep going, couple more. So as we were talking about the population, so the next, I won't go through the OCP, but it is, and Lacey can speak to it as well. So it's the vision for the community, and I was zeroing in on the economy one. And so there's a lot of crossover between the OCP and the economic development strategy. So there's a plethora of information, and it's just a matter of coming down to what Mayor and Council wants to see in the next 4 years, 5 years, 10 years for economic development, and what's important to our community of increasing that economic activity. So there you have it.
Thank you, Marilyn. Questions from council? So I guess a couple that I have, Marilyn, is we have talked about the walkway behind Spirit Square, working on that. And I mean, I know we've just talked about it, but I was just wondering at some point if we could get some sort of a conceptual view of what that might look like, so we can actually work towards maybe some grant funding, because the way, March Madness shows up and there's grant money all over the place. So it would be nice if we had kind of a conceptual idea of what that would look like and how that would affect the businesses downtown, what would happen with the dumpsters in the back, that kind of stuff, just that pre-legwork stuff, not the whole plan, but just to start thinking about it. And of course, the one thing I always harken back to is a DBA would be nice if we could get a downtown business association. That way they could help us, kind of like we had all the contractors here today that, they want to be able to speak as a group, and that's through one person, which is the best way for this to happen. So it would be nice if we could have the downtown do the same thing as well, where, and I know the chamber is there for that kind of thing, but that only goes so far. So I would like to see some sort of an attempt again at a DBA, no matter how loose it is. Or I guess we just continue as we are and hope we hit the right buttons, because the downtown, I think I think it kind of went into a little bit of a waning situation. It feels like it's starting to come back again. Like Wendy noticed today, we've got all those bike lock things downtown now where people can park their bikes. And of course, that's the electric bike revolution that's driving that. I mean, we're all well aware of it. More people are on electric bikes than we've ever seen. So that kind of stuff. And I mean, we are continuing to always look for festivals like May Day Drag Race. I mean, we've got the World Champion Fly Fishing Championships. I mean, that's not going to be a big viewing situation unless you want to drive out to the lakes and have a look at it. But who knows what might come with it. So I think the whole idea that you'll find with us is I love the big festivals like Base Coast and stuff like that, but I don't want to hang my hat on those. So it'd be nice to have smaller things every weekend or every other weekend that can get us through the summer, where everybody has something to do, and stuff that we know will come back every year. That's kind of where I think most people are looking for. So it's great. I hope Rock and River comes back, but if it doesn't, then at least we need to shift another gear and move in a direction of that way. So for myself, and of course with the airport, I mean, it is moving forward slowly as the grant money comes in, and I see the sign up there now about the improvements that are about to happen, and that's going to be a 2 or 3 year situation, and we may get the land ready to be developed quickly, and then get them out on the market, stuff like that. So I think we're kind of moving in the right direction, and that's why it's good to have one of these every once in a while, just to see what the plan is and see where we've gotten to, and stuff like that. Now, like the downtown washroom, I think, is something that has always been mentioned for as long as I can remember. We do have a couple of things that we've been talking about, so hopefully that comes into fruition. So we're moving in that direction. I'm also glad to see the RCMP back on their bikes. That's nice to see downtown. People are really appreciative of that. So I'm assuming that's why all those bike lock things are there, so they don't get taken. But just that's my view. I think we're moving in the right direction, and I think we've got the right people where we need to have them. And what's nice is we do get some people that come to this community with an idea and bring us another festival or another event, which is quite nice. So, and of course, the city staff work very hard to make our city events go very well. Canada Day was really well done. So kudos to the staff there, and how fast the May Day drag race came. 4 weeks to get that thing from conception to actual the day, or 5 weeks, wasn't a lot of time, and there was a lot of hurdles and there was some hiccups, but that's pretty impressive when a city and a city staff can work with a contractor and get that all done. So it opens the door to that happening again. We had a meeting with the airport committee today, or Airport Appreciation Day committee, and we're starting earlier. We're going to change the dates to a little bit cooler time, so we don't have to fight with the fire season. So, and we have some other ideas that will hatch as we move along. So every year that'll get a little bit bigger. And so, I see nothing but great things, and I enjoy you bringing this kind of stuff forward for all of us. So, Councilor Petrosi.
Congrats on your 1 year. So anyway, I guess Councilor Egan and myself, she's in the hospitality, and I work retail, and definitely during festivals and special events, we definitely see the uptick in business at Canadian Tire. I'd really like to see a big push from trying more events if we can. I know it takes a lot of work and a lot, organization, but I see that uptick, and not having the country festival this year is going to really hurt Canadian Tire. But Base Coast, boy, sales just shot right up. So baseball tournaments, you name it, hockey tournaments, yeah, we see that uptick in business at the stores. So and I'm sure the other retailers see it too. So I think it's, yeah, if we keep pushing forward to that. One thing about the downtown core, August will be 10 years that we've been here, we've lived here, and I've just noticed, I see things starting to come back too, but there for a while, things just seem to be looking tired down there, business is closing, things like that, and I think that should be, definitely be a priority, downtown core improvement, so. Thank you.
Councillor Richard?
Just having a clever thought, since getting that airport grant really helped with the grading process that's happening there. We were very fortunate to have that. Just based on a conversation that we had yesterday, do you think there's any recreation grants that could possibly happen to encourage sport and activity, like in our vote park, which could possibly and hopefully have a polymer track? We're just yesterday we were looking for money and hoping that there would be anything, because you never know what streams come out. So I mean, we don't have that in our plan right now, but wouldn't it be great to have other communities host their events here and fill up the hotels and the restaurants and other things? I think Councillor Charney and I were both kind of thinking of that at the same time, because great minds think alike, you know. Thanks.
Come on, Wendy. Come on, don't let me down. Councillor Charney, go.
No, it was a great report. I read it through, and it's nice to hear you talking on it. And I agree. The more attractions that we can bring into town and showcase what we do have in town and outside of Merritt, you know, word of mouth is probably your best media thing. The washroom, I think it's great to have a washroom, but there are a lot of other things to go with it. But I did see a first-class washroom at Woo, something like that. Woo or wash or whatever. It was just 2 trains that were there and then a washroom, and it was fantastic. Some little town called Woo. It's a true story. Last week, I'll send you a picture of it. Fantastic, really fantastic. I do have concerns though. What happens during the night with these type of washrooms, whether they're locked or not? But anyway, that's diverting. But great report, and continue the good work and trying to get events and people and businesses to Merritt.
Councillor Olgan, do you have anything? Go. Hold on there. Okay, you're up, Councillor Olgan.
all the different areas before they decide to invest in our community. So when we talk about business retention, so business attraction, so before I even work on attracting businesses, I want to make sure that the existing businesses are receiving the tools and resources from the municipality, from the other organizations such as community features, such as the Chamber of Commerce, that we are helping them to diversify, because without diversification, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to maintain. So we are living different times. We are going through a specific financial crisis, and we have to make sure that they are ready for that one. So I was happy to see the business facade project that it's on the go. I would like to get more information there. I remember I was involved a few years ago in a similar initiative, and there are different ways to get that done, not only with grant money. So there are other options for that specific initiative. The downtown restroom. So that's another initiative that was mentioned. So I don't know how far that has got, and I don't know what are the real challenges. I wish we had that presentation before we review our budget, so that we can determine what are the priorities in that specific area, and we may have considered allocating some of the funding to those specific priorities that they will make a big impact for our community. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hogan. Appreciate it. And thank you, Merlin, for that presentation.
Your Worship, if I may, on
Yes.
a few of the comments, and thank you all. I really appreciate the input. It makes a big difference, because it's a team to make this all happen in our community. I neglected to mention that the DBA, there has been conversations with the business community. There's also a person in town that wants to spearhead it. So I've had meetings with that person, given him all the information on DBA, what it takes, what we need, what that looks like. So that's in progress, but being the summer, it takes time, right? So I'm not making up excuses. I'm just going to say that's in the works, the DBA. So absolutely. And it's a voice for the downtown and for our business community, not necessarily all downtown, I mean, it spreads. And it's also interesting with the attraction of the different events, and there's been numerous conversations with various organizations about how can we bring in a smaller event. So they've sourced out, like, what if we brought in a tribute band, AC/DC? What does that look like? They've, like Chamber of Commerce, they were talking about, and it's like, okay, this is what that looks like, and this is how much it's going to cost, and it's cost prohibitive. So they've done a lot of work in that respect, and you're absolutely right. Small events and making those signature events eventually is what it's all about. And I will say that, yes, the strategies, and I've taken them, and actually I'll produce a report too, again, that says which ones we've identified, which ones that we've already hit the mark on, ones that we're working on, where it is. So it'll give you a layout of them. And of course, that strategy, as you know, Manuel, was set out in this year we want this done, and this year we want this done, et cetera, right? So it was all gridded out. So I will produce that, and I will present that to council. Yeah, and it's always great to see that we have so many people in our community that are doing so many different projects and events and festivals, and especially when the music festival didn't come back, a lot of the organizations were talking. It's like, what can we bring and who can we bring? And it's like, we're having a world-class fiddler come here October 23rd, I believe it is. And he's world-renowned, and it's pretty cost-prohibitive for one organization to take that on. But the community, like the organization itself, people were, well, I'll phone this person, I'll phone that person. So within probably a week, they've had 5 different small sponsorships that have made up to enough money to bring that world-class fiddler come into town, as well as working with the school and their music program, right? And saying, okay, we're going to have this person here, so we would like to right? Are there students that are interested in the music program that would want to be part of that? So always looking for those different ways to layer that and sustainability, right? So and we have a circus coming to town next month. Like, I mean, there's things that are always happening. So Merritt just seems to be on the radar of so many different events. And now that, post-COVID, post-flood, quote unquote, things have opened up and people are starting to get out there and they're not afraid to, and you're starting to see more and more people take advantage of all these events and festivals that are happening in our community. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Yes.
Is it possible, like you're mentioning the fiddler coming in the circus, is it possible in the paper to have upcoming events, maybe 4 months ahead? So next week you have what's happening in August and September, October, November, and then as more come, you add it and delete them as they come, so that people have got maybe 3 months in advance to mark it down on their calendar, instead of 2 weeks before it's announced that someone is coming. I think it would be, nice for the public to have a lot of advance notice on these things.
Absolutely. And
Well, I think that will work as long as the funding model is available. Like you said, the fiddler coming, you had to go and round up 5 different people to help get him here. So 3 months in advance of somebody that you really have to round up funding for isn't going to be all that helpful. Do we not have I thought we had a calendar. Yeah. I know we have the paper thing. Kim does a great thing in the paper, but I thought we had like a calendar if you went to our website.
Okay, well, we don't have a community calendar. That was on the old tourism Merritt website, which is not maintained. I have started a page called /events, where I'm trying to tag everything that's at community events. But yeah, I'm just not on top of it because I've just overwhelmed with the amount of work that I have to do. But I am posting what I have what I can do when I can. For the most part, if a community is having an event, I've been trying to reshare their events rather than it look like it is coming from the city.
Right.
So they need to create the post first so that I can share it. If they have nothing out there available, then I don't necessarily share it.
Yep, not a problem.
Is it all social media or is there any in print?
Well, community events, that would be social immediate media. Anything that's city events, that would be us that we would advertise. But anything that's community organized, we kind of create some level of separation there.
I think it works better if they actually have an electronic file that you can actually use rather than you creating the whole thing, I'm assuming. Yeah, so. Excellent. Any other questions? Anyone? We're good? We're good. So 5.2, roles and responsibility of the city and Tourism Nicola Valley. So as we know, Tourism Nicola Valley became the official destination marketing organization for Merritt, and this discussion is to focus on the roles and responsibilities of the organization and the City of Merritt staff. So we do run into some issues with that. So I guess we need to have, and I don't think this will be the first and only meeting on this. So where do we want to start with this? So who wants to take this one on? Yes, yep, let's go.
Marilyn and I were talking earlier, and I thought that maybe the best course of action might be, and we have money in the budget apparently for, funding available for marketing strategy. Okay. We could probably hire an outside third-party marketing firm to create a marketing strategy, and then as kind of assign roles and responsibilities as is best suited to our capabilities. It's just an idea that we start from that higher level third party point of view, and then we can decide how we would apply that.
Okay. So for myself, I think probably the best deal would be to get the players all sitting in the same room once, so we can get an idea. of what's expected, what's not to be expected. Now, I'm very glad we have the DMO. It's nice just to hand them something and walk away. But there has to be a certain set of rules that they have to adhere to as well, that the city is responsible for. Councillor Olgan, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is a new partnership, right? So I feel like before we implement that marketing strategy, we have to determine rights and responsibilities from this partnership. So specifically the responsibilities. As you are aware, so I was appointed as the liaison for that organization. They are still meeting on Tuesday, which it's always a conflict with the council meetings that we have. So they are considering moving those meetings to Wednesday, and I will be able to attend. So I need to have a good understanding what their expectations are, so that we can start working together. So we have to be able to work together in order to move forward. So, and I would like to understand that what's going to be our involvement, what's going to be their involvement before they start making decisions.
Yeah, and I'd be comfortable with your input after a few meetings, Councillor Olgan, so we can see where we're going, because that's the whole idea of being the liaison, is to bring that kind of situation back. Now, I know that TNV has asked for the ability to look after our website. At some point they tell me they paid for it, so I'm not really sure how that all works. But anyways, we've had that discussion, and I think we need to have that discussion a little bit more, because our website needs to be either looked after or dropped, one of the two, because it's lacking a little bit here and there. But I think the best course of action here right now would be let Councillor Olgan go through a few meetings and go through that and see what their wants and needs are, and then get all the players in the same room, so we can go from there. Councillor Charney.
I was in Port Hardy and was at the tourist center, and they had a really nice brochure on Merritt, tourism in Merritt. And it was really nice to see, because I looked around and there weren't a lot of other cities there. So, I picked it up and went through it, and it's an excellent magazine sort of brochure. So whoever put that together, they did a really good job, and congratulations on that.
Councillor Archer.
I think discussing the roles and responsibilities is important, because you have events that happen, like last year when they had the fundraiser for the Hell and High Water. You haven't heard a lot of reporting about, I haven't seen a photo of anybody who's been, given any money for improvements to their home that was flood affected or anything like that. So it's always kind of nice when these organizations that put on these events for fundraising, you see, some positive piece that's actually come of that. So like that would be really nice to see some information on that, because that fundraising event, March 2022, I haven't really seen a lot of the different communities that maybe benefited from that, or any of the residents. So maybe Councillor Olgan would probably have, or maybe be able to find some of that out, since he's the liaison. That would be great. Yeah, because I've had a few people ask and say, well, what did happen with all that? That's a good question, I think. Thanks. Tracy.
Yeah, I think this is great, timely conversation. I know that will definitely clarify a lot for our department, because I just did a quick Control F in the official community plan, and specifically in the chapter that Marilyn was presenting earlier. There's 20 or 42 times that tourism is mentioned in the OCP. So we do have policies in the OCP that are directing the city to work through. So it would be great to understand, TNV's roles, our roles, how we collaborate, who kind of champions which pieces, and move forward from there. And again, we're happy to just follow the direction that's put in.
And this is a very new situation. I mean, this is something that just appeared 4 months ago. So I mean, we're not going to get too excited. We'll work towards it, work slowly, and like I said, it won't be first meeting, it won't be last. And then our Councillor Olgan will bring us some good information. And I think that's about the best that we can do, and then just continue to work on that until everybody is happy about where we are, and they know their role and we know ours, and we can continue on from there. The main thing is it to benefit the community. That's where we want to be. So, Mr. Laos, I see you have a mic on there.
I think that's familiar, Your Worship. Yeah, essentially, very little to add at this point. Obviously, with the destination marketing organization designation having been made, I think from a city staff standpoint, what we would just really like to get, and yeah, we can have that through, say, close working relationship with TNB, is the expectations that council have of the work that staff is still supposed to be doing, and how essentially the internal city communication and economic development components of all the tourism and marketing in the city contrasts with the destination marketing, which is to be done by the DMO. Essentially, the better we understand that relationship and the expectations from council, having made the designation of how we would like the responsibilities to lie, the better we can all work together in marketing and selling without the city going on in such direction.
I think you're correct, 100%. And I just want to point out that, Kim, you do a great job on that paper every single week. A lot of people do comment on the information that's in there, just so you know. I'm not trying to butter you up here, but a lot of people do say that they are, I think what most people are very happy with is the fact that they can approach any single one of us at any event and ask a question and they get some answers. They see your stuff, and Marilyn, they see you out there. So I think that's what people are looking for, and they're able to get some information, but that page does really help out. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And it's done very well. So we'll tap you on the shoulder for UBCM. So there you go. Anyone else have any other questions? Look at that. We're done. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Thank you, Marilyn.